Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're looking at expanding the sheet management tool that we did in a previous video. Now, if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and hit the link right here. And today we're going to be expanding how to do view-driven sheet management. And this one is basically going to help deal with sheet numbers specifically, add some prefixes, and then associate the level that the view is currently on to coordinate the sheet name, sheet number, and also the view name itself. So basically wherever you place it, it's going to update that information. We're expanding what we worked on in a previous video. So again, if you haven't already checked that out and built out that script, check it out right here, and I'm going to show it on screen. And again, if you haven't visited this channel before, my name is Tim Halverson. This is the Sevenfold Design Technology, where we explore unlocking your creativity through the power of design technology and architecture. So go ahead and look at the finished product for another minute. So this is the previous script that we worked out in Rhino Inside for Revit. And what we're expanding to this time is this. So the big difference here is we're gonna basically do some additional parameter setting. We're going to replace some information and be able to set the sheet name. And then we're also going to deal with managing the levels. So what does that look like in action? Well, if I take this test sheet that I have here, it's a blank sheet. I just generated this using Revit and just using sheets in the sheet batch sheet maker. You can do similar approaches with ID8 software, other ones. I don't have that add-in. But basically what I then did is I could take one of these, and again, it's driven by the floor plan type. And if I want to make this a different plan, like a structural, for example, I could make that structural. It's down here now. I could drag that onto my sheet. I'll double click on and place that. And then the script is going to automatically rename the view to the appropriate name that we set and place it down in the structure discipline, and rename the number and the name of that sheet. So this workflow does not cover batch placement of views or aligning floor plans per view, but basically just to quickly generate those views so I had them ready to go, I just went to View, Plan Views, Floor Plan. In a previous video, we showed how to set up different types. So I just have my different types of floor plans here. And then I just went ahead and created a bunch of those and then used Revit to place them. But it was pretty fast. If I just left Grasshopper running in the background, this just updates. So that's the workflow we're going to do right now. And hey, if you like what we do in this channel, go ahead and like and subscribe. We're going to be producing content like this moving forward. Grasshopper, Rhino, Revit, any workflow you want. We're going to be looking a lot at different workflows, different approaches, and automation. So definitely let me know in the comments what you want to learn next time. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle back over to this definition. This is where we left off in the previous video. And I'm just going to do a save as. And I'm going to call this one demo. Okay. So picking up where we left off before, what we're actually trying to target this time is the sheet name and the sheet number. Okay, so eventually we're going to want to go to Revit and element set parameter. And this one I'm actually going to do another quotes and just replace sheet name with a panel. And I've gotten in the habit of coloring these a unique color just so I know it's a parameter I'm setting in Revit, but feel free to do what you want. And I'm going to be setting the sheet name. And then I'm going to just replace this key over here and delete because it accepts text strings. And then eventually we're going to be working on doing the sheets in my set. Now, if I just want to do a panel here and take a look at that, everything's feeding in. Now, if I wanted to create some new sheets super quick, I'm just going to do that quickly with Revit. Go to Sheets, Batch Sheet Maker, and I'm just going to say T100 T110 tab test, and then say create. I'm going to create it with my little standard title block and select that. And then that went ahead and just generated a bunch of sheets for me. Okay, cool. So now, as I place views on these sheets, you're going to start to see it to work for me. So what I want to do next. All right, so one of the things that I didn't have in my previous one is I wanted to be able to set up the sheet prefix. So typically here in Grasshopper, this is currently, I'm using this panel to control the discipline that's reading the type of floor plan I want. But I want to go ahead and before I make this update, I'm going to lock the solver. And currently, this is reading index 0 to get the discipline and index 2 to get the site plan. But if I want to go ahead and just add that prefix at the front here, I'm just going to do G space dash dash space. Again, we were just using dash dash as our delimiter. You can use whatever you want. And I'm going to do the same for architecture. So I'll just say A dash dash and then I for interiors. And then this is a finish plan. So actually I'm going to say IF for interior finish plan. And then for furniture, I'm just going to let that be I. Again, whatever your firm standards are, just follow those. And then for landscape, I'm going to go L dash dash. And I might as well just add one more for structural while I'm at it. So S space dash dash structural. Okay. It'll come back when I run the solver. The next thing I want to do is just adjust what I'm doing here. So I'm going to change this to 2, this one to 4, and then I'm going to tweak and just alt drag or copy and get index 0. Okay, and then that's going to set this up here. Now, if I want to remember what each one of these is doing, I can right click and do draw icon, draw a text, and I'm going to label this prefix. I'm going to label this one discipline. And then I'm going to label this one family type. And that just helps me stay organized. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and re-enable the solver. And that's saying Kumbaya. And just to see what I'm getting out, you can see if I had just done the split here, the reason I had to go 0, 2, and 4 was because I had these empties that happened when I did the break text split here. And so now I'm just at 0, I'm getting my G, A, I, F, all these different prefixes, and then all the different disciplines associated with those prefixes, and then the floor plan types. Okay. So next, we want to go ahead and I want to start to create a relationship between the family type and the discipline to get my sheets renaming properly. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and do find and replace. So I'm just going to type in replace and go up to replace text. And I'm going to say, take the family And actually what we're looking at here is these are just the keys, but when I actually feed that out, I'm getting the unique discipline for each of my sheets. So I want to go ahead and just alt drag a copy of this and do it for the family type. And then also we're going to need that for the prefix as well. Alt drag a copy, feed in the list. And now we've got our prefixes, we've got our discipline, and we've got our type. Now this is just text, so I can go ahead and start to work with that. And one of the things I'm going to do is just go to sets and text and go to text case. And I'm just going to make everything uppercase. So the output here is upper and lowercase. Now that just converts it to uppercase. And I'm going to feed that text in. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and find architecture. And I'm going to replace that with the name of the sheet that I want. So I'm going to do construction plan. This is just my convention. I'm going to find architecture. I'm going to replace it with construction plan. Next, I'm going to just alt drag a copy of this and just daisy chain this list. So I'm going to find structural and replace that with the name of the sheet I want. So I'll just do structural framing plan in this case. And then to daisy chain that, I'll just take the output, feed that into the input. And that started to work over here. So you can see structural is now structural framing. And I'll just repeat that process for as many different types of plans that I have in my set. Okay. So I'll just do one more for landscaping. Daisy chain that in, and then I might as well do finish plan. And that's one of those ones where actually, because it's the same, so the type name is the sheet name, I don't need to change that out. But I could do it for furniture plan. Again, I actually haven't set that type yet, so I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so we've got our replacements in place. And I can just check that by seeing the sheet names are there. Now I want to associate the level that is inside the floor plan to sheet name as well. Okay. So to go get that information, we just need to go back over here. And this is where we took our viewport and we already were extracting the associated level. Again, if you don't know where this is, it's just in the params tab. You can just as easily just double click and type this in, case sensitive, of course, and just feed that in. Either way. So what I want to do is just, I'm going to align this data. So I'm going to keep the same group to guide this, make the same guide, feed that data in to match it, and then alt drag a copy of this prune. And that's going to just get rid of these empty branches for me. So just taking the output into the tree, and then that cleans out those branches. And then I want to go ahead and just take these levels, and I want to make sure that we're getting a 2-digit code consistently throughout this. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, make some space here, Alt. Okay. So if I just do sets here, go to text, and then text split, I can feed in my levels, these values right here. And I want to break it with just the space between the level name. So I'm going to just do quotes. I'm going to double click in and hit the space bar just to create an empty space there. And then feed that empty space into the character break. And then when I check the output, that's going to give me everything I want right there. And actually, I should be doing it through my pruned list. There we go. And I'm just going to right click and simplify that to keep things clean. So now I can start to format this information. So just to make sure, I can hopefully guess that this is going to be the index number 1. If I'm not sure, and I know it's always the last number or the last item in that list, I can make it a little bit more stable by grabbing the last index right here in pufferfish. And that's just going to go through every branch, find the last list, which in most cases is index number 1. And it's going to give me that information. So then when I do a list item, I can feed this list in, take out those items, and now it's giving me that level number. Okay, and then one more cleanup step. I'm going to go ahead and go to sets, text, and text trim, just to make sure there's no unnecessary white space. And just feed that into the text. And now we've got clean text. All right. Final step I want to do is I want to do a format, because at the top here I've got this 8, and maybe there's other single-digit codes that really need to be a 2-digit code with a leading 0. So if you want to do that, I'm just going to do the format component. And the format culture we're going to put in a second. We're going to feed this information into 0. And then the culture, just do a panel, so quotes, and then let me zoom in here. It always gets confusing. So I've got the open closed brackets. Then I'm going to say target 0, colon, 0, 0, to make sure I have a 2-digit number. Oops. Okay, so then I'm going to zoom back out. So open closed brackets, 0, colon, 0, 0. All right, so now feed that into the format. And if nothing is happening, sometimes you need to be feeding in a number instead of just text. So the only thing you have to do next is just convert it over to an integer. And then put that in. And now it's working. So sometimes you just have to convert the data type over to an integer and then back, and you're good to go. And what we're getting as a result is a string. Okay. All right. Awesome. So we're making some progress. These are our levels here. Now we want to start to work with those. So I want to take our level numbers, and we want to merge that with our prefix. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just do ampersand for concatenate. And we're going to put these at the end. The first part is our prefix. I'm going to feed the list here of prefixes into A, right? So we're going to get our A right there. Then I'm going to just, in my case, I'm going to add a little period. And that's going to attach a period at the end. I'm going to zoom in and add a plus right here. And in my case, I'm just going to add a 1 to the front. Again, this might be a little bit more involved as you try to do different prefixes for your different types of plans, but I'm just doing a basic 1 in the front. And now I'm just going to attach those numbers to the end. So zooming in, hitting plus, feeding that into the end there, and then appending that at the end. You can see this helps a lot because now I've got a consistent 3-digit code that represents the levels, and I've also got a prefix for my discipline, L, S, etc. All right. So if I want to go ahead and set that to my sheet name, my sheet number, I can just feed it in. So before we do that, it's a good idea to just double check your branches haven't changed in the process. And I'm going to go ahead and feed that into the values. And then we just need the elements. So I'm going to go ahead and go downstream here. And these are the other sheets that have been getting updated with our other process in the past. So I'm just going to take the elements, those sheets, feed those in. And that was wrong. I'm going to undo that and undo the script here. So the mistake I made was doing the sheet name instead of the sheet number. So this one should actually be the sheet number. Okay. Sheet number is our key. And we're going to set the value there. And you might not see any change because this is exactly what I did before. You can see I kind of screwed up the discipline down there. So if I wanted to make sure that's consistently the same, okay. So now that we have that information, if I just take one of these plans and put that on my test, oops. Okay, so that information basically just got me the level and then the architecture floor plan type and the sheet number at this point. Okay, so we need to keep working with this. And right now I haven't automated doing sheet use right there. So now let's start to work on the sheet name. Okay, so we started to set that up before. Our sheet names are over here. Let's go ahead and attach the level information to our sheet as well. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and in a similar way, I'm going to concatenate. So because we've been managing these things with branches, this is all going to fit together just perfectly. So that's like one of the most critical steps is at the beginning, making sure you've branched off your sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to do a concatenate. And then to start this, I'm going to feed in my sheet name, the main part. Then I'm going to do a quotes and do a space dash space and feed that in. And then I'm going to drag a copy and type in level. Zoom in, hit plus, and then add that. If we're getting some issues, sometimes that happens when you're starting a panel, so just make sure you have that space at the end there, and that'll go in. Then add another plus here, and we're just going to feed in our levels. If I come back up here, go back to my formatted levels, and drag that down. Now I'm getting some information here, and then I can also just add a space at the end of level. and that's going to create that space. Cool. So again, it's a little tedious, and I realize this is getting a little messy with everything, but feel free to reformat so it's working for you. All right, so then we've got our sheet number that's getting set here, and then we want to do sheet name next. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a fresh element, set element parameter, and I'm going to disable it just for now. Sheet element in, and then come back here to sheet name, drag, zoom out, reach, zoom in, and feed that into the key. And then basically we can just double check that this is working for us. So we got structural, landscape, construction. Looks like everything's kind of lining up there. And feed that into the values. All right, so you can see that automated it right away. Now, if we wanted to do a test, we could put this to the test by doing a new view type. So I'm actually going to try that quickly. I'm going to right click, duplicate, and just duplicate that and leave the copy one on there. Now, if I tried to bring this into a sheet here and place it, you're probably going to get hit with a warning. Okay. So if I look at this warning, it's basically the same warning you'd be getting in Revit. So if I look at that, it's saying failed to set sheet number because it already exists, right? It's already in use. And so it's going to roll that back and not apply the change. So in an indirect way, this is actually protecting you from duplicating a floor plan that you probably already have in place. Okay. So to check that, I can make sure I put my new sheet that tried to rename itself and renumber itself, and I could put that in. What's happening here is we're having an issue with the sheet number, updating that. And that's because I already have a level 8 and it's hitting the other level 8 that's already up here. Okay, so if I went ahead and change that to a different type and said duplicate type, and I'm going to call this furniture plan and change the view template, might as well duplicate it for now. And hit OK. Now it's going to rethink. Okay, so it went ahead and found that type and automatically relabeled it furniture plan level 8. And it found the code and set it to I instead of IF, which is great. And now we just need to rename that as well. The view name is not coordinated right now. So if we want to automatically coordinate the view, again, because we already set this up back here. So, all right, so one more thing I want to do is coordinate the view name that we place on our sheet. So to do that, we're going to do one more element, set element parameter. And the elements we're going to target this time is not the sheets, but actually the views. So the views I've extracted from the sheets, so they have to be placed on a sheet to be findable. And I've placed those. So part of this is I'm going to go ahead and we'll just set the guide back to here a little bit, which is a good thing. Feeding the element to the tree. And then setting that view element to the view name. And the values we want to set are going to be we're just going to match it. So the view name is going to match the view name. I'm just going to match it down here. Okay. Basically now we have the view name and the sheet name, and we're setting those to the same value. So that's pretty much it for this one. If you're getting issues, just try to recompute. See here. So what is the problem? Okay, cool. So I basically had sheet name on there twice. That's done now. Let's try to duplicate this one more time. I'm gonna duplicate. I'm actually gonna try this one more time, different way. I'm gonna say go to view, go to plan, floor plan, go to furniture plan. Let's do it on level 5. Okay. And then I think I went ahead and put that level 5 right there in my view types. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just drag that down to any one of my sheets. Place that on the sheet. Let the script run. And one more thing I should be automating is using this for documentation. And now that places it. That's the prefix. That's the level. Based on the level it's associated to, renames it and matches it up. So, okay. So that's the workflow I came up with for this one. Things that we'll be trying to figure out in the future to work on is how to automate signing scope boxes, which I have not been able to find how to do yet in Dynamo or Grasshopper. Creating duplicate views, dependent views specifically. How do you create nested dependent views and assign scope boxes to that? And then what I might be able to figure out is actually how to align views from sheet to sheet and make sure they're all referencing the same paper space. So we'll look at that in future videos, but for now, it's a pretty slick workflow. Just using that Revit, generate the sheets, and then the built-in view plan views to drive everything off of the floor plan type. And then you can have your view templates attached to that floor plan type. So let me know if you got some value out of this. Hit that like button and subscribe for future videos on Grasshopper. We're not going to be just doing Rhino Inside, but we are looking at it kind of the next couple weeks. So definitely let me know what you want to try, what you want to learn next. And as always, stay curious, my friends. Thanks so much. Yeah.